And we are back to talk about kind of some of the latest in the news. And that is that George has several new blog posts out, none of which contain any information of wins unless you're reading really closely into it and you just flip the webpage upside down and then you can see like the two W's wins of winter. But for the most part, it's just yeah, nothing. It's just a nothing burger.
It's like reading a horoscope. I think what people want to believe, they will believe. You know? It's so general and ambiguous that you can read it and interpret it so many different ways that what people want to see, they're going to see.
Yeah. But I did want to kind of briefly cover something that happened a week ago regarding the HBO CEO, Casey Bullis, and he kind of took a jab at George. I say kind of because you can't really read it any other way, but maybe someone can. So Deadline did an interview with him, and they basically were just asking him some questions about what we can expect from HBO's lineup going forward, yada, yada, yada. And they basically said here, looking ahead to the next Emmy season, you already have House of the Dragon. What do you think about its Emmy chances with fans being divided over season 2? And then Casey Blois came in and he said, well, I'm not sure that fans were divided over season 2. And Deadline, who I think will never get an interview after this, came in and said, maybe just George R. R. Martin. And then Blois comes in and says, yes, maybe one fan was, but no, the show did really, really well. I expect that it will be in competition. I have high hopes for Penguin and Colin and Kristen, and we've got White Lotus coming back, and we've got Last of Us, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, so, like, the way I read it is that when Deadline goes, well, maybe just George had an issue with it, and then he comes in and says, yeah, maybe one fan was, you can kind of read it as he was calling George a fan, and from a legal standpoint, HBO does have the rights to do whatever the fuck they want with George's material on screen. So technically, George is a fan. He has, like, no input on anything. Anything they've given him, any input they've allowed him to have is courteous. That's, if we're being technical here. But at the same time, you could also read it by saying, like, well, maybe just George R. R. Martin. And him saying, well, yeah, maybe, like, one fan, not referring to George. But that was a really bad way. That was a really bad sentence to say after they said George.
Let's remember that this is an off-the-cuff like thing. You know, they're just talking. Like, had you replaced the word fan with watcher, hey, I'm not sure that the watchers were divided over season 2. Well, maybe just George R. R. Martin. Well, yes, maybe one watcher was. You know, you wouldn't think the same thing. You wouldn't be like, oh, how... You know, you're putting George down on fan level or something, that he's just a fan. If it were watcher, you'd probably not think that. But when he said the first line, I'm not sure that the fans were divided over season 2. Like, he's committed to saying the word fan. And so then when he said George R. R. Martin, he says, okay, maybe just one. He meant, I mean, but you can't say person because you've already established the noun as fan.
Right.
So he has to say fan to continue on the same idea before. So, like, reading into the idea that you're, like, insulting George because you're calling him a fan. Well, they were talking about fans. He has to be talking about fans.
Right.
He has to call George a fan in order to fit him into what he's talking about.
No, that's fair. That's fair. And yeah. I didn't want to, like, really read into this because you could also argue that maybe he's a little salty that George had the audacity to put out that blog post because everybody and their mothers was covering it. So, I mean, like, maybe he was just being a little salty, and also he's not really wrong.
I mean, what I do admit, I don't think that there's so much in the word fan, but you're right that in general, it's dismissive. He's saying, you know, he is saying that George R. R. Martin's opinion was not that important. That's the implication with here, because the person's like, the fans are divided, and then he said, well, George R. R. Martin was, and then he's like, and then he kind of swats it away. Well, maybe one fan was, but no, the show did really, really well. See, he doesn't even address it. He doesn't talk about George's problems as like a major hurdle. He's saying, no, everybody loved it. It was great.
Right.
What about George R. R. Martin? No. Who cares? Everybody loved it. Like, that's what he's saying. Like, that's essentially he's saying that George's opinion doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things.
Again, that could be interpreted as like him taking a shot, because it should. George's opinion on the series should matter quite a bit to the people making it. So,
right. But it's also like he also his job is to say that the show is doing well and everything about it's great. You know, it's strange because let's say let's talk about like a completely different situation. Let's say I was trying to say like everybody loves Oreo cookies. Like, I'd just be like, Oreo cookies are incredibly popular. Everybody loves Oreo cookies. And then you said to me, well, the Pope doesn't like Oreo cookies. And I'm like, well, whatever, that's the Pope. Everyone loves Oreo cookies. Am I dismissing the opinions of the Pope? Am I diminishing him? You know, like, you could put anybody in.
Like,
right. Like, but it is true that everybody loves Oreos, right? Like, but yes, obviously not everybody loves Oreos, but like, if you name a really important person that doesn't love Oreos, does the idea that everybody loved Oreos like go away, you know? And so he's kind of in that situation. He's saying everybody loved season 2, but George R. R. Martin didn't. Well, everyone loved season 2, you know, that's what he's trying to say. No, I didn't love season 2, but like I'm saying, he's trying to say everyone loved season 2. Yeah. So I don't know. I wouldn't read into it too much. Like, you know, these are things where a person sits down and they're just talking, and what we say in a moment, you know, isn't necessarily meant to be analyzed. It's not like the written word where a writer ponders and thinks about his lines. You're just talking, and we all just fucking say things. So
I said it before in a previous video, and I'll say it here. I'm disappointed in the opportunity he had to take bigger shots and air more grievances and didn't take it. And yes, I know people have come to me multiple times and said, well, he couldn't do it because this. I understand, that's fine, but what I wanted was a full-on season review, and what we got was essentially a warning shot. And again, I understand that what he said probably burned some bridges and opened himself up to some legal stuff, sure, but man, I really wish he went all out. I wanted to know what he thought of the Damon stuff at the very end with the Vision and Alice Rivers and the Alicent character change and betraying her family, because all that stuff, I don't even know how you could excuse it or make defenses for it. And I also wanted to know what changes he did like, because I'm sure there are a few things that he did enjoy, but something tells me that going forward, he'll probably avoid talking about the show unless he's going to promote it, which I'm sure is in the contract somewhere he signed. Some people are saying that the way this ended is somewhat of a victory, because now he gets to focus on writing Winds of Winter, which, I mean, that's the hope, right? That's the dream. That he'll focus on wins instead of being upset over all these changes that he clearly doesn't like. So I don't know. We'll have to see. It's my hope. It's my dream, if you will. My dream of a spring where we get Winds of Winter.